The importance you give things affect those things and yourself because you deal with forces you can't control, like people, the universe, and events. What should you do to live a good life? And the frame is you can only control how you see things. And this is what we're going to talk about today. And we have part 1. The secret is detached control. Number 1, if you can only control how you see things, see them in a way where your control of how you see them is directly tied to the path of least resistance to reach their resolution. In other words, you will have to be optimistic about some things, especially about the things you can't control directly. So if you can only control how you see things, you want to employ a radical optimism. You do this while you accept the possibility of failure. As soon as you accept failure, new doors will open for you because you don't put that much pressure on yourself. And this in turn will enable you to take a different kind of action, one that implies risk, a risk you're willing to take. This is the only difference between a loser and a winner. A winner already knows they're gonna win because they win for a different reason and they have nothing to lose. When you have nothing to lose, you have everything to win. Never play with somebody that has nothing to lose because they are the most dangerous man. So you want to make use of this thing in life. Accept the possibility of losing and then do your best. Point number 2. Any resistance you induce is indirectly affecting the things to the degree of your concern of their cause. Resistance in this case is our projection of state. Projection of state is controlling the outcome. As soon as you have projection of state controlling the outcome, we imply that the mind already has an agenda. In other words, you'll have to be optimistic and clear-minded when you try to control events outside your control, that you can't directly control them. So the more you're concerned about how you want these things to turn out in your favor or in a specific way, the more you apply resistance without even wanting it, without even knowing it. And this is tricky because you will have to leave some room for randomness. This is the basis of our universe. It follows order, but there is like 5% of randomness. You don't want to be totally in control. You will want to allow for things to unfold. And again, the basis of this video is only your perception of how you see them. This is where you must train, must cultivate, become an observer, which will be discussed in this video. So when you apply resistance to things, you indirectly affect them. There is an observer, right? As soon as an observer observes basically the things or the system or the dynamic by, let's say, measuring or at least observing or trying to influence in a way or at least hoping for a certain resolution, then we imply that that thing, the observer, has a direct, which is an indirect actually, effect on the things. We talk about things, not laws. You can change the laws by being the observer and having things in your way, but just to a certain extent because they are laws, right? You play with the universe. You can't really play with the universe unless you adapt to it first. So you can't really change the laws, right? So if you can't change the laws, you can't really change much outside of your direct control and your intention, right? What you want to achieve in your immediate sphere of action with your 2 hands, your mouth, and your movement around. So it's not much you can achieve as you notice. So it's basically your projection, the one that tries to control the uncontrollable. As soon as you understand that your projection of how you feel, right? How you feel with your mind, not with your heart, because your heart will never put you in a situation where you will have to straighten or figure things out for yourself. He already knows your mind questions. This is the problem we're discussing. This is the root of the problem. Your mind is the problem. And precisely your conditioning and what's been put in there. But I'm trying to open your brain to this information so you can see for yourself what you're capable of. What you're capable of is choosing. This is how you make the most use of your potential. So we have the resistance given by the mind. I was saying that we have the state, how you conduct yourself. You want to impress people. How do you want to control events if you want to impress people? If you want to come across as somebody who's smart, who's nice, who's fucking going to the gym or anything superficial or of that nature? How do you want to control the uncontrollable if you can't really control your mind? Controlling your mind is thinking what you want despite the events, because your attitude is everything in this game, and your attitude is largely controlled by the norms at present. So you want to cultivate these states in yourself, right, of observing your mind, which will be the next point we're going to talk about. As soon as you do this, you drop the resistance to things. This is the only position where you have a chance to directly influence how things will turn out for you. First, you want to see things in a certain way, and then you detached, and let them happen. So point number 1 was, if you can only control how you see things, see them in a way where your control of how you see them is directly tied to their path of least resistance to their resolution. So you drop the resistance, so you can only control how you see things. In other words, your projection of states in controlling the outcome. Wanting things to be in your control in a certain way, which is largely a big mistake, because you can't really control but just your small sphere of influence, as I said, with your 2 hands, your movement, and how you speak, where you speak. But you can do so much when you drop the resistance, when you drop the importance of things, and you simply do stuff from your heart. So the bottom line here, number 2 being, see things from a detached control perspective, where you only allow. Never react to their resolution with your limited mind, because you're dealing with forces outside your control, like gravity, which is basically like the laws. Because gravity is not the only law. There is so many invisible laws. Point number 3, consider vibration. If you're in a high vibration state, take action. This is the path of least resistance that leads to favorable outcomes without your interference. Listen, you need to consider vibration. Remember when you were in a high vibration state, everything was nice, was fucking powerful. You were at the top of the world. Everything was smooth in your life. Every action you took from that state was a high quality action. And that was the path of least resistance, because you knew what to do at the right time in the right moment, and what to say and how to do it properly. And this happened because you followed a certain recipe, which we're going to talk about in a bit at the last part number 4, the ultimate combo. So the point here being, you want to consider vibration. When you take action, take inspired action. You want to prime yourself with how you see yourself, but be detached of the outcome. That is, don't expect much by making it less important. And furthermore, consider it to be part of your life, your everyday life, especially the things you can't control, or the things you can't really see how you're going to get them done. If you do this, you stand the chance of observing reality for what it is, which is huge, because so many people are sleeping. Right, let's jump on part number 2. Observe everything. And here, this is very crucial, man. It's very important, these bits. We have point number 1. Observe forces at play in your reality. If reality is made of physical and metaphysical, an observer of both worlds must be able to be detached and alternate the views. This is one of the craziest things you need to wrap your head around, right? Because the world is visible and is invisible at the same time. For example, love, which is what the universe is made of, love and abundance. But people fail to see this. But this goes unconsciously. This goes unseen. Not many people see it, yet they can feel it, right? And well, we have the unseen, which I said is part of the feelings and the abundance and love and all that, and the plus and the life, in other words. We also have the laws, right? The physical laws. While these are unseen, there are also other laws which we can't really make sense of with our physical senses. And here we come on the other side, the physical world. You want to consider the 5 senses, and you need to also know that science is empirical, which is based on the 5 senses. And this makes the science to be the subject of error, because the 5 senses are limited. They're just down to the physical world, but physical world comes from the unseen, or at least you can't have physical without the unseen, which is basically the same thing. The only thing that we need to work on is understanding, but slowly we're gonna get there. That is to be a bit open-minded and merge science and metaphysics all together, because they both come at the same time in the scene, and also what we can't see. So observe forces at play in your reality. If you want to start observing the unseen to make sense of it and to know how to better live your life, you need to be aware. You need to wake up, live in the present moment. This is just the starting point of what we're gonna talk. You need to be aware, bro. You need to observe everything. Especially, we have 2 things here, not just your forces at play, which is basically the laws and how people respond to you. Because people are merely just a mirror to yourself. They show you a mirror. If you love yourself, they will love you back. If you hate yourself, they will do the same. Not with themselves, but with you. You kind of need to observe, but never consider that the reality, right? Because observation with your eyes, with your 5 senses, that is just a reflection of the unseen. So you want to be very careful here how you balance this understanding out. Because what you need to do when observing is to consider the lag between your intention, your pure intention in the past, and the reflection in the mirror that is in the other people, which are balls of energy in the unseen. And the unseen, which has got the forces we talked about, will reflect what you actually wanted in your heart. And based on this, you can see what kind of role you took, what kind of action you felt, what kind of news or events you felt in your life, right? And if you have this understanding, this observation of the forces that play in your life, you will be better equipped in understanding why things turn out differently despite your intentions. Okay, so it's because of this. You played with forces and they've compounded, and they've also interacted with other people because you projected and compared. You gave too much meaning, too much importance to certain stuff, and that created excess potential and balancing forces of the universe, which is the same thing like entropy and syntropy. Entropy is the degree of disorder in a system. Syntropy is basically the degree of order in a system. I think it's induced, if I'm not sure. I'm not really sure, but I don't want to, just for the sake of reference here. You have these laws and balancing acts of the universe doing stuff on your behalf. So your actions, your physical actions with your two hands, mouth, and your movement around in the sphere interacts to a large degree with these unseen forces. So please try to understand people subjectively mostly and events that happen around you and see where you actually created excess potential for these forces at play to basically destroy what you've created despite your good intention. The moment you understand this, the moment you understand that you need to respect the laws by not creating polarity in the magnetic field of the quantum field, basically, then you have a chance of directing this field and these unseen forces. There's much more to this, but it's not impossible. I hope this video is giving you a bit of an understanding of how these forces are at play. And we jump on the next point, which is observe yourself. It's a sub-point of point number 1. Here, you want to observe how your mind and how your feeling is talking to you. You have your mind, your conscious mind, that's talking bullshit all the time. And you have a feeling mind, that is your body, your subconscious mind, and your heart on the other side. That's actually telling you the truth all the time. So you gotta pay close attention, like look at yourself, who you're listening to, and then take the conscious decision to change things in your own way. But make sure when you decide them, make sure this decision comes from inside of you, right? Look at your unconscious behavior especially. Another sub-point at point number 1 is observe others. This is precisely what I said. People are just balls of energy, right? They have plus and a minus. Imagine people being a ball of energy, a magnet, a plus at the top and a minus at the feet. And simply interact with them from now on, just like that. Don't take them literally, what they say and what they do, unless it's really significant and all that. Because you see, out of all of your everyday interactions, there will be like 10% interactions that are actually fruitful and are leading to an end, to something good, are constructive and have a clear end in mind. Other than that, it's just chatting, all the interactions. Very few are producing a constant result. So I want you to understand this, because based on that result or the lack of it, which is the 90% I said about contrasting the 10%, is just energy at play. You want to play with that energy if it's at play by simply choosing not to react. Right? By choosing to feel first how you interact with that energy. And we're not talking about people now. We're talking about the unseen, the metaphysic part of that people. If the unseen is energy, they express it through feelings. Non-verbal communication is that energy. Not the words or the message or the logic behind it, but rather the psychical part of it, which is the unseen. People talk with feelings and you want to have a look at those feelings. That's the unseen. They also, just like you, communicate with this. We all interact with this field. And you want to pay close attention at others. Because if somebody brings the minus, the bad energy at their feet to you, you have the right not to take it personally, which is highly what I'm suggesting you do. And you want to pay close attention to this again. Because if somebody brings good energy, you want to take part of it. Don't be a leech. Don't be like a vampire. But just bring good energy as well. Don't talk about yourself and try to make them feel good, not with your logic, but with your heart. And you will come across as a totally different individual in their eyes. And here I'm giving you a golden nugget. When you do this, be present. Be in their shoes. Try to understand their story. And when you do this, when you switch perspectives, that is, you take on their shoes and try to understand how they live their life and the points of view they take on, you will understand so many nuances about themselves. And when you accept them with all of these nuances, you become a people magnet. And when you do this long enough with people without taking personally the good and the bad sides, but we're talking about the plus, remember, you will gain a sense of mastery and your aura will change. When you walk into a room, when you talk to other people, they will immediately feel what kind of person you are, how self-grounded are you, how self-respect you have, and so many other small details that people measure when they first see you. Right? You want to be better than that, and this is how you do it. Point number 2, become a real-life actor. Live in two worlds. one detached of who you are and what you do daily, and one in which you interact with others and the universal forces. I gave you a clue of what to do and how to do it, but now the time has come for you to understand that you can switch when to take on this persona, when to switch between actions, when to switch between worlds, if we can put it like that. So we're talking about living two worlds, one detached of who you are and what you do daily, and one in which you interact with others and the universal forces. Let's talk a bit about the first one detached of who you are and what you do daily. Why would you want to detach of who you are and what you do daily? Because people are sleeping, and that includes you as well, and me as well. To a certain degree, we're all sleeping, right? So we're sleeping because this is what the society wanted us, right? The conditioning we're talking about. And if we're sleeping, then it's our duty to wake up, right? Waking up means being present and aware of our unconscious behavior, precisely. And I'm saying about this switch, right? Becoming a real life actor. So detached of who you are and what you do daily. Detached of your mind, precisely. And tuning into that soul, right? Into that part of you that you can't see, but you can feel. And there is something here I want you to never do. That is lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. And the other thing I would ask you to do is to accept yourself. I think we're going to talk about this in a bit. No, it's not in there. No, we don't have it today. But this is strong enough, right? Never judge yourself by accepting yourself and never lying to oneself, to yourself, will take you a long way. So you want to detach of who you are and what you do daily. You do it on purpose, bro. Be cold with everything you do, which is like a transition when we interact with others and the universal forces, which you want to detach as well of. Can you detach of the universal forces? You can, because this field is neutral. And as I said, when you project importance, you create this potential. And these forces aim for balance, right? If you've read Emerson's essay on compensation, he says everything in the universe is like a flat line. Of course, I'm paraphrasing and mashing things up for you here, but I'm simplifying things for you to understand as clearly as possible so it can actually change your life. So Emerson's essay of compensation says that nature always balances things out. If a lion can kill a prey in nature, then that prey is equipped, if I can say that, with the ability to run faster than the lion. If the lion has these strengths, it also has a weakness of being killed by other predators like an elephant or something. And he gave an example with a stag that admires his horns and hates his legs for some reason, but then when the hunter comes, the legs are the ones that save him, and then later on his horns are gonna be the ones that's gonna bring him death by just, hooking them onto some bushes and remaining there until he dies. That's some cruel stuff I came across in his essay, but given my English, this is the best way I can put it. I think you got the point though. And so compensation is the coin of the universe. It will always balance everything under this coin. You gain in power, you will lose in time, he said. And you want to detach of creating potential. And this is how you detach from the universal forces, by dropping the importance and observing stuff more and just hoping passively, not trying to make it happen, but feeling your way through it and to it. So you got to create this persona, this actor in which you can detach easily of what people say. Because if you remember the 90% of what we talk and how we exchange that energy versus the 10%, the outcome of that interaction, then as long as you have this distinction in your mind, you can detach and you can choose how you perceive that information or that exchange of energy. This is what I'm talking when you detach, and you do this even with yourself. I want you to do it, right? Because you're also part of this with your physical nature, part of this exchange of energy, given your goal, the tension and the resolution to achieve that goal. And this dynamic, I want you to be detached and precisely of people and outside nature. When you try to achieve your goal and your means of achieving that goal, you need to detach of these as well. The how will not be important when your why is strong enough. Because you've seen for yourself, when you really want something, you're willing to work your ass off day and night. Part number 3, you can only do so much. Here is how. Number 1, ask for things and never expect them. This is the only way to get optimized things for your experience. When you never expect something to come in your life, there is a high chance of that thing coming to you. When you project importance on something you don't like or you fear, that thing will also come in your life. By accepting the possibility of failure, a thing will have a larger degree of success, or at least the possibility of being a success. Because as soon as you allow yourself to lose, you unlock this ability of power from the laws of the universe. Because remember, your sphere of impact is the one of energy you can influence with your two hands, your mouth, and your two legs in your range of motion, let's say. So when you let go of control and paradoxically never expecting them and consider them so normal, and even you being able to live without them, then that's when you change from being the one who desires and can't really see themselves without to somebody who actually accepts the possibility of losing and ultimately getting those things because you can live without them, and that changes your perspective and your state ultimately. From somebody who's desperate to somebody who owns that thing, because you can lose it anytime and be okay without it. That's when the wife can really spend her time for the rest of her life with a man that knows he will always get somebody else in her place. And when she sees that, when she feels that, she will likely stay with him for the rest of his life, or until that thing changes, or until this dynamic changes. So there is a paradox here. The more you let go of control and resistance, when you ask for things and never expect them, then that's when you change how you feel. You change your state, and you crazily, I'm saying, you get optimized things for your existence. I am getting optimized things for my existence because I do this. I never project importance or expect the things to come in a certain way. No, I just go by the feel. How I feel that thing needs to be for me. And it comes because I can live without it. As simple as that. You need to be crazy. If you're not used to this idea, you need to start it, but you will need to do it. You will need to practice it. This is how you change. Ask, but don't expect, and it will come to you. Right? This should have been written in the Bible, though. So many people take Bible for granted. I don't really do it, but that was a good scenario to use it. Point number 2, you can only choose what you truly love and what truly belongs to your soul. Be careful here. You need to observe the conflict between your mind and your heart. So you can only choose what you truly love and what truly belongs to your soul. Everything else is just the mind wants. What the mind wants is what conditioning and society has placed in your mind, in that blank. If your soul is unique, everybody has a soul that's unique, then it's your duty to listen to that thing that's talking to you, that's making hard things with ease. What do you like to do? To make art, to express yourself? Then do it in your own way, but choose to do it properly. That is, allow yourself to be the best by learning your nervous system, while your soul is gonna do the job of picking the ideas, serving the information, combining the information, combining the training you've had and everything to take you from zero, from that blank slate, to somebody, an individual who is unique and is actually living their life through their own means. So that's what I'm saying. Be careful here. You need to observe the conflict between your heart and your mind. Your mind is easily conditionable, while your soul is like a wild stallion. It will always do against the mind. But the mind is trapped in 3D, which is the problem. Because you see in 3D, the only problem, you don't have what you want, what your soul wants. And the reason you're not happy is because your mind sees the linearity, the logic behind how somebody achieves things in this plane. If A follows B, follows C, and so on, then it makes sense for the mind to project how things will turn out. It makes sense for the mind to see, if I want this, I'll have to go through this shit and through this shit and so on. But the soul doesn't necessarily go this way, because the soul is part of the unseen. The unseen is non-linear. It's the reflection that works with the forces that will attract unexpectedly in your life everything you want at the right time. If you've heard about the term synchronicity, which is things happening at the right time with the right people in the right moment and in the right ways and all that for something to take place. So you have a high degree of getting what you want, yeah, and that thing is something you truly love and not the other way around. What truly belongs to your soul, and this is real. You want to have a look at what you really like, what you really feel in your soul. And it's crazy because it will talk to you when you ask it. When you ask yourself, what the fuck do I really want? What do I feel in my soul? And you start from there. But be careful here. Be careful at the conflict between your mind and your heart, because there will be two contrasting differences here of opinions. One is felt and risky, the other is comfortable and known. Part number 4, the ultimate combo. Number 1. Combine thoughts and emotion. Combine your mind and your heart for maximum power. Your heart is the only thing that has the power over the laws because it runs by intention, not by desire. Let's start with the difference between intention and desire. Intention is the process of doing things directly. Desire is more like a dream. It's like a vague request with a possibility of failure, which is far higher than the possibility of having the thing. This is the only difference, the best I can put it. Intention is doing, desire is wishing. And with these two conflicting thingies, you don't get what you want. So you need to combine them. You need to combine thought and emotion. Combine your mind and your heart for maximum power. We say maximum power, but your power, when I say maximum, is infinite. This is what's hard to grasp even for me. It is fucking infinite. It's very hard to understand logically how infinite our minds and powers are. This equipment, what we got, is out of this place, man. We should not even be alive. Even if we are, our understanding is so vague and everything we know is so elusive. But yet we're still trying to make use of it to the best we can, which is my point here and your point there. So your heart is the only thing that has the power over the laws because it runs by intention, not by desire. In a dream, your intention is direct. If you want to fly in a dream where you know you can fly, that's intention. Intention is like me clapping the hands, for example, because I want to do. I don't wish for things to happen. I make them happen. But what happens when I don't know about the certainty of me getting the things with my intention? And this is the problem, because the heart can't make use of the laws of the universe given its magnetic resonance, because everything is a magnet. But your mind will stop your heart by taking different actions other than the logical actions the heart will give you or will ask you to take. So you'll need to combine thoughts and emotion, but emotion must drive you. And I'm saying emotion that is with a meaning of feeling. What's the feeling your heart gives you? That must be your compass. Because if you go with that, you have the power to bend the laws of the universe. Well, you don't bend them, you just obey them. And when you do, they respond to you. And even if you have bad stuff happening to you, you will still be in the control of your life because you choose to respond. And please don't respond to bad things with emotion. Treat them detached. This is the secret. This is the key. Detach from the bad ones. Give feeling and positive meaning to the good ones. Number 2, when you derail, do not oppose the change. Accept it. Detached. Again, I gave you the formula for being detached, but we're talking about the combo, so I had to put it here. The combo is when you derail, do not oppose the change, accept it, regardless of how bad it is, even being the passing away of somebody you loved and so on. You gotta be tough like a man and accept it. Detached, you can't get that thing back, especially if it's gone. And when we say derail, we also talk about self-behavior. That is how you treat yourself. If you eat junk food and all that, you might want to put it down. But don't oppose the change, accept it detached. When you set your alarm clock to go to the gym, set your alarm clock. Don't think too much, just do. That's the power of intention. Don't desire for things to be different. Just go through and you will come out a winner. This is what it means to be detached. What it also means is that you will have to detach emotion from action. When I say combine thoughts and emotion, you combine it. But when you detach emotion from action, you will have to detach it. Make sure you understand what I said here. If not, just go back again and please understand, because this is very crucial. Because this means you will have to be in a subjective state all the time where you choose and where you alternate where to put your attention and to give your emotion away, to give your feeling away. With other words, to invest your time and energy. And I gave you some clues as of how to do that properly. So do not oppose when you change, when you derail, because you'll also have to understand that you deal with psychological inertia. That is your past habits and your already worn path up to this point. And if you want to change, you will have to literally do the last 2 points we're going to talk about in a bit, which is decide and treat everything a normality. And I'm saying it here and now so you can clearly understand, especially if you rewinded the video. Number 3, when things are gloomy, dark and bad, take on the persona, the role that is. Ask yourself what you should do and see what the heart says and take action, because that action will be inspired and you will succeed. I don't think there is much to be said about here. I've already said everything you must know and I gave you the whole dynamic, what to do with the plus at the top of the people and the minus at the bottom of their ball of energy, considering they were just just some energy in our example, which is still what they are in reality, but we still see them with the purpose of exercising our choice and free will. And what's worth saying here, though, is ask yourself what you should do, see what the heart says, and take action. All right, I hope you understand this point. But number 4, decide. To be able to create your own reality, you need to be decisive. There is no change unless you decide. But this change comes from your vision. Choose your vision carefully, because you will invest time and years and money and resources, and then decide and go for it. To be able to maintain your decision on something you've just chosen, you will have to come up with stories. You will have to come up with evidence for that thing. This is what lights me up, because I recently found out about this, how to properly change your beliefs, basically. Decide, change the meaning, come up with different stories, and that's basically the solution of a dark past you want to get rid of. What you don't get rid of, you accept yourself, you decide a new persona, and then you start working on that slowly, step by step. But let's say you have your vision, and let's say you know where you're going. You need to be decisive. Decide that that's where you want to go, that's what you want to be, have, or do, and then find the reinforcing evidence for that thing. And I guarantee you, your transition will be way smoother, especially if you detach and do the exercise I ask you to do in this video, to be able to shift the points of view so you can actually be fluid and offer the universe non-resistance to actually get you where you want, because your control is loosened now, right? So decide, bro, decide. It's the last time I'm saying it, decide. Of course, I'll be saying it on the future videos, but still in this video, decide, brother. Now, that was the last time. Number 5, the new you must be a normality. Do not attribute importance to things you consider out of your league. You need to understand here, the new you must be a normality. This is a crazy idea. As simple as it seems, this idea is way powerful than it seems. What it says is that in order for you to include the change of how you see things and wanting things to be in a certain way, to affect you in a positive life, to a better degree, that is, you must consider these things a normality for you. They must be part of your new persona, your new chosen direction in life. So the key here is to never attribute importance to things you consider out of your league, because let me give you an example. These things are already a normality for somebody that hates them. They consider those things that you want already an everyday reality. They are already used of having these things. They already know how to deal with them, and some of them even hate them. And I'm talking about cars and girls and love and houses and everything in between, or even enlightenment, any things of any nature. There are degrees and variations of the level of lifestyle, of the level of being, of the level of awareness and understanding, and how the universe works. What do you think? What do you think it is here? Do you really think that you're not the person here to do those things? I think you are. You're just not allowing yourself. So you need to permit yourself. Give yourself the admin rights to having that thing and considering a normality, because it's possible. Other people have it. Other people want to get rid of it. Why do you project so much importance to the things you consider out of your league? Don't. Stop it. Stop it in this moment. Change it. If you want to get familiar with the thing you want, make it an everyday normality. Say it. This is me. This is what I want. I can't see myself with something else other than this, but I accept the possibility of losing it. As simple as that. And then let go of control. Consider that thing is something other people have. It's just my mind that's not used to that lifestyle or to those things. Other than that, is just normal. Nothing is important. Everything that's created, that's man-made, or has been here since the beginning of time, it's something you're entitled to. Everything else is just conditioning, something that other people have put in so they take control of you, so they can recruit people to their cause. That being religion, that being society. If we have these things as causes, then it's worth questioning your beliefs, right? Because if you don't see something in normality, it reflects a far deeper problem. You have a deeper problem and you can't see. And from this limited belief, limited self-image projection, you come to consider yourself not being the person who can have those things. So my message to you here at this point is that consider everything a normality, man. A beautiful woman, it must be a normality, for example. You having confidence must be a normality. As a matter of fact, the secret of confidence is not giving importance to things, giving importance to what your heart says. That's real confidence. And so lastly, to wrap this up, I gave you the ultimate combo. Combine emotion and thoughts. When you real, don't oppose change when things are gloomy. Take on the persona, the role, ask yourself what you should do, and see what the heart says. Take action. It's inspired, it will be inspired, and you will succeed. Number 4, decide. To be able to create your own reality, you need to be decisive. Number 5, the new you must be a normality. Do not attribute importance to things you consider out of your league. And with this, we end the video. If this video inspired you to take action of some sort or to see things differently, then please let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate if I could change a life. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next ones.